and then I started working at Bloomberg for doing tech support for client sides. So like answering calls, helping them with keyboards, helping them with passwords, stuff like that. Kind of low level, but it's foot in the door.
Did you have a coding experience at all?
Minimal, right? So I started to learn on my own outside of Bloomberg. I started to read articles. I started to read books. I got another job in the company doing testing for software, and that was a really good time. It was really fun.
And this is rough. This is like when the subprime crash. This is like the biggest. Need to remind you guys, the biggest depression since the 30s. That Danny was spit out onto the street. So this is like an incredible time to be catapulted out. Did you get a job right away?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to intern with Bloomberg in the summer of 2007. So when I got out, I reached out and I said, "Hey guys, remember me?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And, they brought me in. So that was pretty awesome. But it's funny you talk about that. I remember like maybe it was my 6th or 7th month. I'm starting to really get it, get into the habit. And I'm like washing up in the men's room and just hanging out, and I hear like all these things are happening on the radio. Right, and I hear like this company Bear Stearns just got sold for $10 to J.P. Morgan a share. I'm like, if you know a little bit of finance, this company is very like they used to be very prominent, and now they're worth very little, and they're getting bailed out, right? And all these companies are falling down, and you wonder like, man, am I gonna have a job tomorrow? You really don't know.
So that was like scary on the just like where's my Bowie knife? Where's my what blade do I use on my Swiss Army knife? What do I put down on the resume next, or how can I stuff it just to stay afloat? Danny, I asked you in the beginning to tell these vibrant young people, what is the most vibrant thing, the most compelling thing about what you do now, and the scariest thing?
Yeah, so I mean, what I think the best part is that you're working with people who are young and agile and very quick and a lot smarter than you are generally. And that's really great because they're bringing you to the next level. Your peers are teaching you.
Just a thing. Sometimes Stony Brook students have a confidence issue. I keep going. I went with that in your class. How do you get them to get up to that level, or at least they can feel the armor come on and have the confidence if they're shoulder to shoulder with Ivy League people and all of that?
Get used to rejection. It feels pretty good to fail and to learn what you did wrong, and then to take that feedback and to make yourself better. I think that's the best way to roll. Failure is totally an option, and it's a requirement, I think, for success.
It's like dating.
Totally like dating. Totally like dating. Oh man, absolutely.
So date a lot and fail a lot. And don't be afraid that your little egos are like in this little eggshell that'll be cracked at any moment, because that's to be. I mean, we don't want to be masochists. You're not a masochist, but your margin of failure is the thing you learn from, right?
It's got to be
for the next gig. So continue. The most exhilarating thing you said was the ability to make a one-of-a-kind thing.
Yeah. So for a year and a half, I've been working building a product with a team of really talented engineers. I'm a tester, so I work with them and make sure that everything that comes out of pipeline is working as designed. I do the best I can to act as the last line of defense. Sometimes things go past you, and sometimes you catch really awesome, epic things that save the client. But in the end, you're working on a product, right? So the best part of that is you get emotional attachment to what you're writing, what you're building, right? You become part of what you're building, and you get excited about people who are building interesting and cool things. And then you kind of have a common theme within your company about what it is you're about, right? And you're about the product, you're about your work, and your work means something. It's no longer a paper that you write and it's over with, right?
And the professor's going to put it in the garbage can,
right? It's true, and that's really the best thing. And it's funny, right? Because in college I had a lot of time to like make projects and do cool stuff. On the side, I hung out in my room and I used a program called Rosen to write like synthesizer sounds. And
oh, right, you did a lot of the sound things. Did you do processing and Max?
Yeah,
a little bit of both.
Yep.
I love Max. We were revved up. We did a little thing with dancers on Saturday. A couple of members came to that one using the Connect, and while sending out a point cloud and manipulating music with that. I'll show Danny I'm going to beat this horse until it dies. I'm using the Mind Wave to alter. It just does calm to excitement, but within that there's 180 degrees of playing a keyboard or moving a motor or some sort of transduction that an audience member can see. Which gets me to maybe a point between being exhilarated and being frightened. I think there's a level of magic involved, like what a client doesn't see and they feel they're paying for, but they don't see it. The magic you have when you first get your smartphone and go like, oh my God, if I pinch, I stretch, it's all doing this magical thing. And of course, great kind of companies like Apple always try and put some sort of magic into their usability and so forth. Any comments on the spectacle degree of magic in what you do?
Yeah,
your
sure.
Company?
Absolutely. You come up with an idea, right? You're like, hey, I have this idea, I have this end goal, right? And then you pass it down to a couple other people, you kind of build consensus. Okay, we're going to do it, right? And you spec it out. You say, okay, how is it going to work, right? And then you build it, and then it's there. And you're like, damn, this was an idea like a week ago, and now I'm actually using it, and I'm actually building it. I had this cool idea. It wasn't like I was hanging around with a beer, oh, this would be cool, right? No, it's like we did it, right? And it's the sense of accomplishment. But it's also like, damn, how did we do it? Like, what did we do to do this?
What's the latest you've done, like in a week? What kind of thing?
What kind of thing? So, give me some more context. I'm not.
Is it for security? Is it for a product? Is it for I'm totally in love with database aesthetics. Are you seeing database things flow over reality? Is it something interactive?
Sure, man. So I just bought a house, right?
Congratulations.
So in my house, I have I got a Nest, right, as a gift from one of my family members. And the Nest is this interactive thermometer. Right? You put it on the wall, and you connect to it with your smartphone or over the internet. You can see how hot or cold it is in your house, and you can turn it off or turn it down remotely. And I thought that was pretty wild, because I can be here right now, and I can be like, well, I think I should cool it down because I'll be home in like half an hour. And that was pretty wild.
And this Nest is for birds?
No, it's actually a thermometer. It's a device you put on the wall, and you connect to your cooling system.
It's called a Nest.
Sorry,
I'm like, Nest. You go home. You got married too.
I did. Yeah.
Like an image of you and your wife flying back to this big nest in the middle of the house. Well, that's. I'm working on half a dozen different things, from working with dancers, visualizing this ball that moves around in X, Y, and Z space and bumps up against objects and triggers video or sound. What else? I'm working on the self-referential, we call it a transag product, to develop sustainable small architectural houses on about 100 acres of donated farmland in Minnesota. What would you tell these young people who are the good people out of like button-down public schools? Their system tells them just follow rules and you'll be okay. What would you say as an addition to that?
So in 2000, I went to a hackers conference called Hope. It's called H2K, Hope 2000. And a lot of really interesting people from the hacker scene were there. And this guy named Jello Biafra spoke.
Oh, I heard.
Jello Biafra was a lead singer of the Kennedys.
The Dead Kennedys.
Right. So Jello, he's always been known as this kind of like anti-establishment kind of guy. And he looked at us and said, don't hate the media, become the media. Right? And that always kind of meant something. And it's like, well, it's really cool to understand rules and follow rules and to, kind of do what you're told and, take the classes you're supposed to and, follow the line. But like, what's cooler is to like accept that, but like build off it and understand what it is and either try to improve it or build your own similarly and have others use it and make it better on your own, right? It's learning systems that exist and then mocking them and then making them better. Remixology is...
Who is this?
Remixology, right? So the act of remixing something, right? Taking something that already exists, embracing what exists and what works.
Which is, I'm asking them, which I asked you for 13 years, I'm saying, let's see young people come in, the challenge is bring in images from their grandparents.
Right.
and you've got your DNA and your genes going here, you got your memes going here. Can we have those two communicate in some sense? You know, can you be moved by the? Can you move me by these images? Can we see people from Poland, Russia, Africa, Caribbean, India, all have similar trajectories and so forth? Is this? Is there and can there be remixology? Can there be a blend between art and technology?
Yeah, I mean there has to be.
Ultimately,
that's medium,
yeah.
Right? That's medium, and it's space, right? Like you can't have public, real true new media art, public media art without a technology, a medium to use.
Do you work on remixology, or does your company, or you as your company work on remixology?
Sure.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So what's kind of interesting, so we have a happy hour, right? Once a week. Pretty good happy hour. More than welcome to come out if you'd like.
Where's your office? Where are your offices?
We're down on Soho, Varick and Van Dam.
Varick and Van Dam. You want to give a plug to your company?
Sailthru.
Sailthru. Cool.
Yeah.
Varick and Van Dam. Happy hours on what day?
Thursdays.
Yeah. Okay, at 6?
Yeah. Ping me if you're interested.
Thursdays.
Danny@sailthru.com.
I'll go down. Too bad we do. It's not on a Wednesday. Otherwise, we take our class down there.
But I'll continue on this because this is interesting, right? So we call it Sail Ale, and this is just an event, right? But what's so interesting, it's great. So what's so interesting is that like it's just a general happy hour, right? But when you start to define the happy hour in the context of like the group of people that we have, you start to realize that like alcohol is this interesting lubrication for the machine to kind of like fix its own problems and be creative and find ideas, right? And
it loosens up inhibitions maybe you have repressed in yourself, but it also loosens up things between the little molecular entities called your coworkers or your whoever you work with. Continue.
Right on. So, like, this is super important, right? Because if you look at it like it's a mechanical system, right? This is the lubrication you put in so the gears move better together, right? And this metaphor starts to kind of make a little more sense, where you walk in, you have a drink, start moving, right? And then you start communicating with different parts of the system, right? And then, the gears start to move. And the next thing you know, you're at someone's desk and you're building something cool.
Wow. And this might be into 9, 10 at night, and everyone's spouses are calling and saying, "Where the hell are you?" And you go, "I'm drinking and working. I'm drinking on the job." We're getting things done, right?
It's true. So that's kind of cool. There's a paradigm of hackathons, right? Where people will stay up for 24 hours straight just writing something, writing code, building an application, doing something creative. This is more and more prevalent in private and public. So companies are saying, here's a cool technology, win a prize, and build a product that uses it in the span of 24 hours.
Far out.
Yeah.
Far out.
And it's bringing creators together, right, to kind of build something along the lines of what you need. So we decided that it'd be really interesting if we can invite our friends to this Sail Ale thing, all right? So we came up with an idea where you give out a card to someone, and on it would say Sail Ale, here's a URL. You go there and you sign up, right? So we wrote a web page where you put your info in, and you click I'm interested. It would send you an email that say, hey, no problem, sounds good. Click through here if you're for sure, and you click a button, and then it sends us an email that says, hey, so and so is interested in coming.
Like a Facebook invite or something like that.
Well, something like that, but it's all through email, so it's much more direct. It's much more personal. And what's cool is that it uses, and this is my favorite part, it'll ping the security desk and say, hey, add them to the list.
Cool.
So that's kind of
right,
nice.
Varick and... Yep. Oh, my brother, Varick and what street?
Van Dam.
Right, yeah, a lot of ad firms have been down there, still are down there right now.
Yeah.
I'm opening up to our studio audience. Any questions of Danny, like particularly his trajectory out of the beautiful spa, nunnery, monastery, factory paradigm of the college and university, and we're talking a lot about debt because one of the none of these people want to major in debt, but often that's what happens. But we're trying to see the clarity of the world through what might be a bubble scan. Maybe educate. I'll open up to you guys. Joseph, is any question of Danny in terms of his trajectory. You want to get deeper into graphic design and things like that.
I was wondering, like, how do you, like you said, like digital digital technology is a medium. So how do you recognize that? Like you said, you throw paint on the wall, and you just said I was just throwing paint on the wall, but someone recognizes this as art. But digital medium, you have to kind of know which is art, kind of a little bit at least. Like say, show someone, oh, this. What do you think of this? Like, how do you decide, like, which you like and which?
Yeah, that's a wild question, right? I mean, preference is a challenge, right? Subjectivity is always, going to consume you and point you in a certain direction. I truly think it's like, beauty is within the eye of the beholder, whatever, right? But I also think it's about what it is you're looking at, right? And if you're an artist and you're looking to try a different medium, right? I think the core question you want to ask yourself is, what is my goal? Because you can get caught up so much in tools and in process, right? But in the end, what is it that I'm trying to, portray? And I think that's what Professor Baldwin does so well. He says, this is the goal, and this is how you do it. and it's dirty. Don't get me wrong. A lot of this stuff is very raw, right? But it gets you there, and you look back and you're like, I'm there,
And I have a part two to that question, and that is sometimes art like connects things in a way that is like collective subconscious.
Correct.
And it has like accurate things that can be used later on in society. Now, how would you kind of recognize that and say, you know what, this is digital art? Like, how do I move it over and say this is something that's useful for someone? And this is probably technology you need to work on also because it has probably interesting applications.
For sure. I think it really depends on the piece, right, and what it's saying. I think the best way I can answer that is by walking into, I think the MoMA right now is having a complete exhibition on video games, and you can walk in and you can play Tetris.
Really?
Right?
Did you get into the rain interactive thing?
No, I haven't tried it yet. How is it? Is it good?
You put your hand out and the rain goes around you. Interactive piece. MoMA, free Fridays. Anyway, you Stony Brooks get into there for free, but go on that will be a lot of people there. But video games.
Right. So, I mean, if you think about it, a video game is effectively a piece of art, right? Yeah. It's interactive, right? And there's a communication between you and the machine, right? And the cool thing is a lot of those have lasted the test of time. I mean, now you walk into a museum and there's actually games there that you can play, and the concepts that they've instilled are still prevalent. I mean, Snood and all these other older games are back in Bubble, Pong, right? Yeah, and they're all there. So, like, maybe it's not the game itself or the piece itself, right? But it lives on in different capacities. Mario is the best way to describe it, right? The most popular, side scroller, right? You have a platform game, right? How many platform games do you play now? And you can pretty much always attribute it over to one of the first successful platforms.
And Danny, the effect, the prosthetic effect of new, this is an LG, I love it. It was just plug for this one. It's a smartphone I got for basically $30. Whereas everyone else are paying off their $700 Samsungs or whatever. It's the Moore's Law makes this thing keep crunching. But we do see side effects. People texting while they drive. So just in the time you were out, 6 years, texting has passed drunken driving as the #1 cause of accidents. I hate the people who stand on the stairway of the subway, don't you guys? Like texting, that's a 6-year phenomena, basically. And so we see these social effects. Any comment on like what the dystopian sides of this wonderful technocracy? Anyone?
I think it's kind of, yeah.
What's up? I was going to say, yeah, I guess because of the advancement of technology, I guess you say it bridges this gap between activism and interaction, which I think everyone could agree with because everyone doesn't really.
I'm going to have to stop there, Kadeem.